Hi, welcome to Kimble Companies. My name's Troy. I'm the Recycle Center Operations Manager here in Twinsburg. Today we're going to take you on a tour to show you how the recycling process goes. So let's take a look. So this is the tip floor. This is where all the recycling gets dumped. During the day when it gets dumped, we have a couple loaders on the floor, and their purpose is to push all the material up against the wall here to the right and clear space for the next dumps. Then throughout the day when we're running the recycling plant, the loader operator gets scoops of material and dumps it into the hopper here, which is called a metering bin. And what that metering bin is doing is circulating all the material that's in the hopper, and then from there that material goes onto a conveyor belt into the recycling plant and hits what's called a pre-sort line. So one of the big things that we see all the time that I think people don't realize it's not recyclable is like the tarps, garden hoses, car batteries. People throw out a lot of things that forces us to have this sort process to take out all the stuff that doesn't belong, the metal, the lumber, and the batteries and stuff like that. They can be pretty dangerous. So this is the OCC screen. So when I was talking about the things, the tanglers and tarps and hoses and stuff, and hunks of metal and lumber that can jam up the machine, in here there's a series of shafts, and on the shafts are these big discs, and those are rotating constantly to sift through the material. And if anything's large enough or long enough to tangle around those shafts, it's going to tangle around, shut us down, and then we got to stop the whole plant, hop in, remove that stuff to get us up and running. Its other purpose is all the light cardboard and sheets of cardboard will float over top of the series of shafts, and then all the stuff that's smaller, the paper, containers, cans, all that stuff will fall down underneath to the conveyor belt below. So then all the cardboard sheets will float over top, then we'll fall down onto this conveyor belt, and everything on this belt should be the big sheets of cardboard, anything that's large enough to not fall through the series of shafts and the discs. And on the end of that, you'll have another sorter on the end of the line picking out anything that got past that, whether it's garbage bags or anything that's not cardboard. So same process on this screen, but this is the ONP screen, or paper screen. And it's basically doing the same thing as the OCC screen before. The only difference is the spacing of the discs is a little narrower, and same with the shafts, the spacing is a little closer together, so that way paper can float over top just like the cardboard separator, and all the small stuff, the cans, the containers, all the loose stuff will fall down below to the conveyor below. All the fine small stuff, it's usually glass and bottles and stuff, goes on that conveyor belt, which takes us outside to another belt that diverts it to a glass breaker. And then all the light, fluffy paper and newsboard and other fiber will fall down on this conveyor belt, and on the end of that conveyor belt, sorters are picking out anything else that got through the system, garbage bags, other small bits of cardboard that should have went with the other line. All right, so this is our last series of screen. This is called the polishing screen. So again, the same process as the other two screens. Now this one has the smallest spacing in the shafts and the discs. It's separating all of the smaller containers and cans. Anything that's smaller than cans and containers will fall down underneath, which is like a big vacuum that pulls out any sort of paper particles or glass particles and such. And then any of the cans and containers fall down below onto this belt. So the majority of the materials that you should see on this belt are all your containers, aluminum cans, tin cans, some paper, so your milk jugs, your laundry detergent bottles. From there it goes up the belt into our next station before the magnetic belt. Anything else, all the remaining paper and stuff from that vacuum gets pushed out on this last conveyor for a final fiber sorting station. So throughout the plant, everything that goes into our chutes, whether it's aluminum cans, laundry detergent bottles, milk jug containers, tin cans, our plastic bottles, our peat, all gets loaded up into these bunkers. And throughout the day when those are full, there'll be a big shutter door or garage door that opens up, and all that material fall down on that walking conveyor belt, and that conveyor belt gets pulled up to the baler. and that's where all the material gets baled. So the employees here, they're grabbing anything that got through the system that doesn't belong before it hits what's called it's a magnetic belt, and that's what's pulling out all the cat food, tin cans, soup cans, and that sort of thing, and then throws it into a bunker. So you can see as the system's running and the conveyor belt's going past, this magnetic belt, it's grabbing and throwing tin cans and throws it into a bunker. So this is the eddy current. The way the eddy current works is it creates a temporary magnetic field that charges the aluminum cans and then repels that into the corresponding chutes. And then those aluminum cans will fall down onto this belt, which goes into another sorting station. And then the employees are grabbing out anything that's not aluminum and then separating that from the rest of the plastics. All right, so this is called an optical sorter. So what this optical sorter does, it uses infrared lens to detect the different types of plastic, and from that it's using air nozzles to separate and divert those different plastic types into the corresponding chutes. So when you hear that little hiss noise, that's the air nozzle shooting out into that chute. So from here you'll see like the 3 through 7 plastics and PET are going on this belt. The natural or milk jugs of HDPE are going on this belt. So this line is all your natural. And then from there, anything left over that wasn't caught and thrown in our material chutes goes on this belt below. And this is kind of like the final station to where employees will grab and remove anything before it goes to residue or trash. So this is the baler. Right now they're in the middle of the cardboard run like we saw before. Here's the rest of those bunkers that I was describing. And when those are full and emptied out, it goes up this conveyor belt down to the baler. And then from there is where we're making our bales. And then after they're done, they get pulled off the line and staged in this area for final QC. So they're doing their final inspection, pulling out any of the contaminants, and then putting an inspected label on it. And then that's really the end of the baling process. So as you can see, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into the whole recycling process. Some people think that when you throw your recycling out in your cans, it just gets thrown out anyway. But as you can see, a lot of work, a lot of time and effort goes into recycling all these materials, and it turns into bales. So it'll continue on to its life and gets repurposed to make new products, and goes on from there.